Hey guys, Jason here for TheChartGuys. It's been a little while since we've done a video together, so I thought I would make one up and see what things are happening in the alert system and try to get a read on Bitcoin and EOS and ETH and see what's happening there. So I thought the easiest thing to do, why don't we just work through some of our charts here, get an idea what's going on from the perspective of the alert system itself, and try and get a read on what we can expect to see over the next little while. So the first chart I want to look at is the BTC USD on Coinbase. And there's a couple things I wanted to point out. First, let's just talk through the action that we've seen from December 1st till today. So right away, the first thing we see here is a gray arrow. This is an indicator of a potential equilibrium. So what an equilibrium does is it sets up a high, a low, a high, and then a breakout from that potential range. So when you see this potential equilibrium, all that is telling you is that the range is constricting a little bit. And then where usually after you see that range tightening, you get a breakout scenario. So in this case, we did see that. We had a pretty substantial breakout, and it didn't even trip our abnormal volume until well into the breakout. We saw some consolidation, a little bit of upside continuation before we're seeing this reversal on the shooting star. And then we get back to into another EQ. What's interesting about the second EQ is that it just didn't have enough time to cool off. And we saw the breakout attempt. It broke over the most recent high over here on the shooting star, but it just did not have any volume to follow through. And we can see that abnormal volume coming in and that battle taking place. Ultimately, the bulls weren't able to win that, and we see the price fall, consolidate, fall again before moving sideways for a little while. Closer to today, we see a couple of indicators for more downside activity. We've been choppy, we've been going sideways for a couple of days, and we get some big bursts of volume, and eventually we see this really tight indecision doji. So on a smaller term time frame, this is likely going to be an equilibrium where we see this low, we see a high, we see a new low, we see a lower high, and it forms this 15-minute EQ. You can barely see it here, but our high and lows are pretty much spot on. Finally, we see a break of that and an absolute dump down, abnormal volume catching the bottom, reversal candlestick. This doesn't always necessarily show a reversal to the upside, but it shows you that the pattern is going to change. So the big dump has ceased. We see abnormal volume. We see this reversal candlestick, and then we see sideways movement for quite a while. We hit another abnormal volume. Big battle is lost. Price drops through the floor, going all the way from 4,000 to about 3,800. So in today's world, that's a pretty big substantial move. We tripped our 15-minute oversold, another abnormal volume, another dump, 15-minute oversold again before recovering. And now we're seeing a little bit of a breakout on Bitcoin here, trying to recover some action. Unfortunately, in the 4-hour time frame, we're still not in great shape. If we look at the BTC USD 4-hour, we can see that we're just consistently setting these lower highs again, and we're getting lower lows as well. So what we expect to see, ideally, is going to be a breakout, a movement back up into the range of, say, 4,100. And if bulls have any hope of recovering this 4-hour trend, we need to close over this high of 4,260 on Coinbase Pro. Otherwise, we're just going to see more continued downside, more highs and lows in the 4-hour until we get down to the range of 3,500 where we've built this level of support-ish. So that's Bitcoin. And again, the potential EQs, your abnormal volumes, those are all I'm using really right now. And they're working really well for me. So let's take a look at ETH USD. Similar scenario, we're getting abnormal volumes that are really catching these bottoms. And when the price moves to extreme level, it's going to meet new and unprepared areas of resistance and support on the bid and ask. So when you're in sideways consolidation and the price is constantly moving, the order book fills and empties and fills and empties, you build up these areas of buy and sell orders on the fringes way out here, when you're normally trading right in this tight order book area. And when you dump down into these areas, there's a lot of new support that's there in the form of orders. So when you dump that, you see the price get down, you get all the people who are selling to get down to this level, but also all of these orders that are filling. So that volume just tends to move quickly. Now we see this abnormal volume catching the bottoms and tops of a lot of our little miniature breakouts here. We see a potential EQ, so very, very tight on this equilibrium. And then we see that play out beautifully into abnormal volume, oversold, gets kicked off almost immediately. And then we see the big drop down, abnormal volume catches the absolute bottom of that again. And then we see moving sideways and it decides to break out. Currently a little bit red, but we need a little bit of red if we're going to have a healthy climb out of this little pit. EOS USD on the Binance exchange, similar situation. Big drop down, tightening ranges up here. Did not get a potential equilibrium because of this upper wick here, but this upper wick does show selling pressure. We see indecision candlesticks, multiple in a row. We see a spinning top, long-legged, and then the volume comes in, dumping the price all the way down into another abnormal volume, signaling the bottom, bounce sideways into a positive price shear. So overall, the markets are doing their very best to climb out of this, but on the 4-hour time frame, Bitcoin leading the way. No real positive signs that I can see on the 4-hour time frame. I'm looking for some sort of support to be built. I really want to see a new lower high right around here. I'd love to bounce out of this, and I want to break above this resistance at 4260. We need to do that if bulls are going to have any sort of hope for a 4-hour trend change. Otherwise, it's just more downside into this area of support right around 3,517 that we see. So that's it for today. So thanks again for watching. Thank you for supporting the alert system, and thank you for being awesome people.